I know that today we are going to have a great sermon. I know that because today we get to study together a truly great passage from the Word of God. This is a passage, Hebrews 12, 1 and 2, that is just screaming out, preach me, live me. So if you would please find Hebrews 12, 1 and 2 in your Bible. It'll also be on the wall in front of you as we study it together. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. This is a passage that tells us about the most spectacular race, a race for the ages. This is Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Hope you have it. Follow along with me, please, as we read it together, looking for 2014, almost now, 2015 applications to our lives. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Great passage. Begins with an interesting word, the word therefore. It's a word we need to note. Anytime there's a therefore, we get to figure out what it is there for. And this therefore is to make sure that we understand what has just happened prior to the writing of Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. What has just happened is Hebrews 11. And in Hebrews 11, we're told about all these greats, the best of the best who've lived before us, who have been running this race. And now we are told it is our turn. It is our time to step up on the stage, to get on the track, and to receive the baton from the others who have been running the race. So the therefore here, we got to note it, we got to underline it, we got to highlight this very important word in our study this morning. Because they did it, we now get to do it. Because they ran, we get to run. Because they were champions in their own day and time, we also now get to be champions in this day and this time. Therefore, the very important word, take our baton and let's go forward in this race. Note secondly here in this passage who it is that is running. Who it is that is on this track. Now, let me read this passage again and you'll see this quite easily, who it is that is about the business of the Christian race. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily ensnare us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. If you counted there, you got 6 times the Hebrew writer is saying, this is a race that we are running. This is something for us. This is our faith. This is not a race that others are to be about and not involving each of us, but it is something we all get to participate in. This is a family race. This is a team race. This is a church race. It is not an exclusive competition, if you will. It is inclusive. We all get to be a part of this wonderful thing. And you know, it's a great benefit, isn't it, to be able to run with other people, to not have to run alone. This time of year, you know, all these geese, they're flying south. You note that they don't fly alone to the south, do they? They got a bunch of them. They're all grouped together in a wonderful formation, and they're honking encouragement to each other. That's the way God designed geese to travel. That's the way He designed us to run this race. Us, together, we, our. And there's a great benefit to running this gauntlet, resisting the temptation. We got other people encouraging us, honking, right, with us, good words, boosting us, promoting us, strengthening us, praying with us, showing us the way, right? We all need to be a part of that kind of forever family, that kind of team. We all need that kind of support and encouragement and camaraderie. Try to run alone, we're going to run into failure pretty quickly. I remember one of the keys to me being a relatively good person as a teenager was that God blessed me with lots of people that surrounded me and encouraged me and blessed me, and I desperately needed as many good friends as a fella could get as I ran this race, right? My sophomore year, you may remember this, my sophomore year, my dad dies. Pretty terrible death after a lengthy illness. So it's just me and my mom, who's very disabled, cannot not get up and about and care for me like she'd want to, or I'd want her to. And so my junior year, my mom needs to move back to Bruton. This is Mobile. My mom needs to move back to Bruton, Alabama, where her mother is, her brothers and sisters, and some cousins, her support system. They can take care of her. Well, I'm halfway through my junior year. I've got my support system in Mobile, my team, my geese that are honking encouragement to me, right, as I'm trying to run this race. And at that point in my life, done a pretty good job. I'd done some dumb things, some sinful things, but at that point, I'd never smoked a cigarette, never had a drink of alcohol, never done anything anymore, never even gone to an R-rated movie at that point in my life. All right? Living a pretty good life. I don't want to give that up. Mom says you got to move to Bruton. You got to move. You got to be with me. All right? Well, let me finish my junior year in Mobile Christian School. Who are you going to stay with? Well, there was a family at church that didn't have much money, but they had a lot of love, and they agreed to let me stay with them. And so my second half of my junior year, literally, in order to stay with that support system, in order to be with my friends, in order to run that race with my associates, I lived in a house that didn't have an extra bed for me, so I literally slept on a small mattress on the floor. These folks, I said, didn't have a lot of money, and so for orange juice, this is a nice trick. You want to save some money. They'd buy a gallon of orange juice, and they'd split it 50-50. They'd pour half of it into another gallon, and they'd split it, half a gallon of water, half a gallon of orange juice. They learned to like that. This family had some unique rules. No television. Now, this is back in the days before internet and cell phone and all these ways to communicate. So no television, maybe 1 hour a week of television, right? Also had a pretty stringent rule for the children. If you ate supper, if you ate lunch after the meal, since Mama fixed it, you do all the dishes and you do it right then. If you're late for supper, you have to do it all by yourself. Because I played some sports, a lot of times I was late for supper and I was the one doing the dishes all by myself. And so it was a unique situation, right? At the end of my junior year, I'm supposed to move to Bruton. My buddies and some teachers, they had a going away party for me. Problem was, I didn't want to go away. I didn't want to leave that support system. I go to Bruton, miserable, working at Kmart. That was a good thing. I enjoyed that. Went to T.R. Miller School. Registered for school. Mom, I really don't want to do this. All right, fine. If you want to go back to Mobile, they've thrown you a going away party. You going to go back? Well, yeah, I think I will. So my mom let me call those folks. It kept me that half of my junior year, and I said, would you let me stay my senior year with you? You have to sleep on the floor. I understand. You're going to have to do the dishes. I understand. You're not going to like our orange juice. I understand. You're not going to be able to watch television like you want. I understand. I felt like at that point in my life, I really needed to be with those friends, those good people. Plus, when you change schools, sometimes you get bullied. Sometimes and I just wasn't looking forward to it. Well, how are you going to afford a private Christian school? Well, again, I talk about these geese, these honkers, right? These people encouraging me. There's a group of people. They knew I wanted to come back. They knew I wanted to be a preacher one day, needed to be in these Bible classes and all that. They agreed. They would go every morning to McDonald's, and they'd buy hamburgers and apple pies and things like that, and they'd take them back to Mobile Christian School at lunchtime, and they'd sell them to the kids who had more money. And they sold them for more than they bought them for at McDonald's, and they used the extra profit from that to pay for people like me to be able to afford to go to Mobile Christian School. Did I have a lot of people, trying to encourage me and bless me? Right now, I didn't advertise to my buddies, that hamburger you're eating, that's paying for me to be in this school. But I had people like that were encouraging me and blessing me. And we were traveling together. My friends didn't drink. My friends didn't cuss. My friends didn't do immoral things. And it helped me not to drink and not to cuss and not to do again, trust me, folks, I've done a lot of immoral and bad things in my life and in my heart and sins I've committed, right? I've thought some things, and we've all crossed some lines. I get that, and you get that. And I want you young people to understand that just because Jeff did what he views an immoral thing, let me tell you what it was. Because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to be any better than you guys. I mentioned the R-rated movie, and I just think it's immoral to go see those kind of things and to pay money for that. That's just me. And you may be different, and that's between you and God, and y'all work it out. So I'm with some buddies, right? I'm 16 years old. And they want to go see an R-rated. It's one of these gladiator movies, right? And I want to fit in, so I decide, all right, I'll go. I'm 16. You got to be 18. At least in Mobile, you had to be 18 to go to an R-rated movie. And I'm in line. I'm practicing my lie. I know they're going to, I was 16, look 12, and I'm going to go to a movie that's got to be 18. And I'm in line. I'm shaking. I'm sweating. And I know they're going to ask me, how old are you? And I'm practicing. I'm 18. I'm 18 years of age. Do you have any ID? I don't have my billfold with me. Something like that. I'm going to lie to them. I get up there in line. How old are you? You look 12. I said, I'm 19. And then I changed this. I said, I'm 18. I'm sweating. And they knew I was lying, and they let me go in. Did I enjoy that movie? Absolutely not. Is that the last R-rated movie I've ever gone to? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I had people in my life that helped me to say, you just don't need to be about that. You need to walk in another direction. And when I read Hebrews 11, when I see those folks, they're running with the best people they can find to run with. And when I see Hebrews chapter 12, I see that's what you and I need to be willing to do. And look, if it means your entire senior year, you get to sleep on the floor and you get to split your orange juice with water and you don't get to watch TV and you get to do more dishes than you'd like and you get to kind of be a little bit embarrassed seeing other people pay for your education. Well, I think it kind of impresses upon us the importance of being with good people as we run the race. Because if we're not with good people, we're going to run out of bounds, and we're not going to be where we need to be on this track and in this life. So I beg you, I really urge you, find good people that will be the us that we run with, the we that we run with, the our that we share this our faith with. Get away from the people who are saying bad things are good things and good things are bad things. Let's have this sense of urgency of getting on the track and getting moving and getting involved with the best folks we possibly can. I'm so thankful that God surrounded me then, continues to surround me now with some really, really wonderful people. So we note the word therefore, we note who is racing, who is running, and that is us. And note who is watching, who is cheering us on as we run this race. We've got this great cloud of witnesses. You see that there as we're running. Now, the Bible does specifically say who these folks are, but we can make a pretty good guess that it's some of the greats of Hebrews 11. As we're living the life, as we're resisting the temptation, as we're not lying about our age, as we're worshiping our God, as we're giving as we've been given to, as we're forgiving others, as we're doing all the things that bring God joy and bring us joy, there are folks watching us. There are folks encouraging us. I like to think that it's folks like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David and Esther and all the greats, and they're cheering us on. And don't we all do better when we're being watched? Don't we all do better when we're being encouraged? I played football. My daddy came to only one football game that I ever played in my life. That's the best I ever played. It wasn't all that great, but for me it was pretty terrific. Why? Because my dad got in the rain and he came to watch his boy. We're being watched. We're being watched not by people who are against us, to catch us, to mock us, We're watched by all the greats who've already run the race, and they proved to us it can be done, and now they're rooting us on. Think about it. The best of the best are gazing their eyes in your direction. And I like to think that even the best of our family folks who've gone on before us now, they're able to only see the good that we do. And they're encouraging us, and they're anxious for us to get to where they are so we can have this great forever family reunion one day. You remember the story about this boy, he played football, his daddy was blind, and his dad would come and he'd sit next to somebody in the stands, and when his son's out on the field, the fellow he's sitting next to in the stands would describe to the blind father what his son's doing out on the field, and eventually this father passes away, and the coach says to the son, you don't have to play. I know you got your dad on your mind. You're grieving. You just sit this one out. And the boy says to the coach, no, sir, I'd kind of like to play this weekend's ball game. Well, it's up to you. You play. And so the boy plays the best game of his entire life. Coach is amazed. Teammates amazed. Fans are amazed. After the game, son, what got into you? He said, sir, it's the first time my daddy's ever seen me play. And so he had this image of dad up in heaven watching him do what he was doing on the field. It helps us to know that God is watching us, our Father. Not the first time He's seen us run. He's seen it every time. But He's watching us. Christ is watching us, the best of the best. They're watching us. I don't want to disappoint them. I remember my dad out there in the rain under that umbrella. I'm thinking, I don't want to disappoint my dad. And I still don't. And you don't want to disappoint your dad, your mom, your children. We don't want to disappoint God. And so let's step up, recognizing we have a great opportunity as those folks are watching us. By the way, we're not the ones watching. Let's don't get in the habit of just watching other people run the race around the track and being critics and sitting where we should be up and going. Let's not do that. You notice also here that in addition to the therefore and who's racing, and that's all of us, and then who's watching. Note here from this text what we unload. We leave behind as we race every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, King James says, or weigh us down. So we get to ask ourselves as we're racing, as we run now, what, if any, sin is holding us back? What, if any, sin is slowing us down? What relationship, what habit, what attitude might we be involved in that's keeping us from reaching our optimum speed? Right? Are there things that we need to get rid of? If you're racing with somebody and you're carrying an extra 50-pound weight, you're not going to go as efficiently as the other fellow's going to go. Remember, this lady comes to see Jesus at this well in the middle of the day with this heavy water pot, and when she leaves Jesus, she leaves the burden with Him. And she can run more effectively then. So is there something that's tripping us up as we run along that we need to get rid of? One of the best gifts, we're thinking about Christmas coming now and all the great gifts we get this time of year. One of the best gifts I ever got was a pair of brand new cowboy boots, probably about the first grade, W.S. Neal, out from East Bruton School. I believe that these were magical boots, like these old westerns I used to watch. I believe I could run faster when I wore these black cowboy boots with their pretty lining and all that stuff. And so I challenged those classmates of mine to a race at recess, and we're out there, we're going to run. Teacher says go, we take off running. I run a few steps. I'm ahead of everybody I know, the way I remember it, and I get tripped up by somebody, and I fall down, and I lose the race. I'm embarrassed. I'm a little bit hurt, and I'm ready to fight, man. I asked the teacher, who tripped me up? Who knocked me down? I want to know. And I don't know if she called me silly, but she surely thought it, and she said, Jeff, nobody tripped you. You tripped over your boots. You tripped yourself. And sometimes as we race, we are our own worst enemies, right? We trip ourselves up by attitudes we choose to have, by people we choose to run with, by things we choose to do. And so for me to run more effectively, you understand the application, I needed to get rid of those boots and go for something else. For us to run most effectively, there might be something that we have been tripped up by that we have control over, and we think, okay, one day I need to get rid of this, one day I need to do. Today is the day. The gun has been fired, man. We're in this thing now. Let's hasten to get rid of anything that keeps us from hastening as fast as we should in the direction towards God. So we unload everything that trips us up, that slows us down. By the way, these things sometimes are not easy to unload, or we've already unloaded them. So it could be difficult to do that. Then note also that this is an endurance race. that we are to run with endurance, or King James says patience. Idea is we don't stop. It's not a sprint. It's something that lasts a little while, and once we're in it to win it. We're in it to finish it. We've started 2014 in a good way back in January. Now we're at December. We can't be getting tired of this. We got to finish strong. We got to finish life strong as we look forward to 2015. Remember what Jesus is called here in this text? He's called this great author and finisher of our faith. Jesus was a finisher. If it's worth starting, it's worth finishing. Life was worth starting. This race was worth starting. Let's be sure we finish it. If our lives are a series of unfinished projects, that's a sign of immaturity. We need to be good at finishing what we start. Notice also where or to whom we are to look as we run this race. We're looking to the finisher. We're looking to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. The original there has the word pioneer. We're to look only to Jesus there. The Greek word for look unto Jesus is a word aphareo, which means not just that I'm looking to Him, but I'm looking away from anything and everything else that would distract me. You notice that the devil has surrounded us with people and things that seem to have the one glorious intent or inglorious intent to distract us, to keep us from focusing on what Jesus and what He did for us at Calvary. In gospel meetings where I'll go preach about this time, I'm talking about looking to Jesus. I'll get the ones that have been sleeping a little bit distracted to wake up, because I'll kind of say it loudly, and I don't want to disturb some of you who are resting right now. But I'll say something like, "Can I have your attention, please?" And they'll perk up. No, what? Did he see me? And what I'm saying is, that's not coming from Jeff. That's coming from Jesus. That's what, when Jesus up on that cross, and He's saying, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." When He says it's finished, when He says, "Into Thy hands I commend my spirit," when He says all those great things, what He's saying to them and us, "Can I have your attention, please?" And that's what this passage is directing us to do, to give our undivided attention to Jesus as we run. We're not going to a finish line. We're going to a finisher. We're going to Jesus Christ. We're going to the place where we're hugging Him, and He's hugging us, and we're hugging all the greats that have gone before us. Look to Jesus, nothing else, nobody else, as we run this race. And note here, this is the seventh thing. If you're writing this down and keeping count, note why we're looking unto Jesus. Because He went first. Because He was the pioneer. He was the trailblazer. When we're on a path, don't we want to follow somebody who's already been on the path, who knows the way, who's cleared the brush for us, who's made it easier, who knows how to get to where we need to get to? You want to be a success in life, follow successful people, right? Jesus was successful. He's our trailblazer. He's done it, proving it can be done by us. And I'll be going back, pray for me, please. I'll be going back to Ukraine, Lord willing, January the 13th. I'll start heading that way. And last July when I was over there, you remember I went into some of these military places that the rebels had held, and they'd abandoned the foxholes everywhere, and they left so quickly. They literally left their clothes. They left some of their clothes there, and you can see them in piles in different places, and they're getting out fast. And there were different trails and all that, and when I went in these places, I paid particular care to stay on the path, because there was some suspicion that maybe they'd booby-trapped some of these things. There was some, and we did see one unexploded bomb in one of these places, but you knew you got to walk where others have walked, because that's the safest place to be. Well, Jesus Christ, He's walked in a certain place, and I can put my foot where His foot went, and I can put this foot, and I can live the way He lived, and I know that's the way. I know that's the safest path. If I veer off of that path, then I'm liable to find myself in a predicament that's not so pleasant. Notice also from this passage how He did it, how He runs this race. He ran it. He endured it all with joy. Do you see that there? Who for the joy that was set before Him endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. How could he go the cross with joy? How could He endure that with gladness? Because we know that certainly there's nothing joyful about being spit upon. There's nothing joyful about being blindfolded. There's nothing joyful about being beaten in the head. There's nothing joyful about being stripped and scourged with whips. There's nothing joyful about carrying a cross up to Golgotha. There's nothing joyful about being nailed to a tree. There's nothing joyful about hearing all these people hurling such insults, and you've done nothing but good for them. There's nothing joyful about that at all. He endured it with joy. How? The joy was in him knowing what he's doing for us at Calvary. The joy is in him knowing that he shortly will be sitting down with his Father at the right hand of that throne soon. The joy is knowing that because he's going through this, we don't have to go through hell. That's the joy. And so if he could find a way to endure that with joy, then surely we can find a way to endure to run this race with joy. The joy of worship. The joy of singing and giving and remembering what Jesus has done. The joy of fellowship. The joy of prayer. The joy of serving. The joy of washing feet. The joy of giving as we have been given too. It really is a joyful life. If you think, well, I'm not enjoying it. You're not trying it. You're not in the race. You're not within the boundaries. Get in the track. Get with the good group of people who'll encourage you, who'll run with us, right? And the joy will come. The joy will come. These are important things that we look at from this text. Maybe the most important of these is to make sure that we're already up and about the business of running this race, of living this kind of life. I'm thankful that as we run, we do follow somebody who's finished it, who is already with the Father, who is awaiting our arrival in that place. And again, because Jesus made it to the finish line, it proves that we can make it to the finish line also. His track was a lot more difficult than my track will ever be, and we know that. But the important thing is not to delay the beginning of this, but to start now and to stick with it until we are finished, until we hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joys of your Lord." Little boy, back in the days, you used to get from place to place by train, right? He's running just as fast as he can to catch a train. Old man sitting there on the bench where the train station is. Sees the boy hurrying up there and the train's pulling away and the boy just doesn't make it. Doesn't get there. Old man says, "Sonny, you didn't run fast enough." Little boy says, "Yes, I did. I ran fast as I could. I just didn't start soon enough." We need to start. Why are we waiting? Why are we waiting to do the things we know we need to do? Don't wait any longer to forgive somebody. Don't wait any longer to love somebody. Don't wait any longer to seek first the kingdom. Don't wait any longer to let God be the main force in your life. I mean, there's nothing to be gained by further delay. If it's good to start in January, it's better to start right here, right now. It really is. It really is. Tomorrow never seems to come to me, and maybe it never comes to you. Today is the day. Now is the time to begin the journey. And let's run this race with a sense of urgency as if our life depends on it, because in a sense it does. I was watching, maybe some of you saw some of this on TV last night, on ESPN, some of the highlights from great football games gone by. And I was actually at a football game back in 1992. I guess it was. Alabama's playing the University of Miami, and Miami had this hot shot receiver named Lamar Thomas, and he got behind the defense, and he caught a deep, long pass, and he's running for the end zone. And George Teague, a slower defensive back for the University of Alabama, he ran Lamar Thomas down, pulled the ball out of his hands, and runs the other way. It's the greatest defensive play I have ever seen. They were interviewing George Teague after the game, and he said, "How in the world could you possibly catch Lamar Thomas? He's faster than you." And I love George Teague's answer. He said, "Lamar Thomas was running for a touchdown. I was running for my life." You know, he knew Stallings was on the sideline and going to give him something if he didn't catch him. Some people run for touchdowns. Some people run for their lives. We're running for our lives, right? We're running for Christ. We're running for all these witnesses that are watching us. We're running for this prize. We're running for ourselves. We're running for those that are running with us, that are counting on us. Again, this is a family enterprise. We're all in it together. no trackster, no soldier, no Christian left behind. Come with us. Come with us. And when we stand and sing this song, let's get rid of those boots that trip us up. Let's get rid of anything that slows us down, any of those weights. Let's leave them behind. Let's leave them at Calvary. And let's, as we finish this year, as we finish 2004, let's finish strong. Let's finish together. Would you pray with me, please? Father, thank you for bringing us together as your family. Thank you for giving us a glorious passage to study together today. Help us to look to Jesus as we run this race. Help us to run together. Help us to run with people who will encourage us. Help us to run with people that we will encourage. Help us to get rid of any weight, any sin that trips us up, that slows us down. Help us to run with urgency. Help us to run as if our life depends on it. Help us to never be distracted from focusing on Jesus. Father, we love you. We thank you for loving us. Thank you for giving us the blessing of running to you with your Son. Father, we ask that you would help us to examine ourselves. If we need to seek the prayers of this family today, help us to do that. If we need to begin the journey today, would you help us to put Jesus on in baptism for the forgiveness of all our sins in obedience to Acts 2:38 this morning. And Father, if we've left the track, if we've gone out of bounds, would you bring us back this morning to the place we need to be? Again, Father, thank you for your Son. Thank you for the path he's cleared for each of us. In Jesus we pray. Amen. If we can help you in any way, would you come now while we stand and sing?